we're going to take things a little bit out of order right now because of President Bush's passing. And so we're going to start our day with a presentation of colors by the Sheriff's Unit, and then a Pledge of Allegiance, and then a prayer, then a memorial service that David Painter's going to work on, and a retirement of colors, playing of taps in the hall, and then we'll officially start our meeting. So, if you'd like to proceed.
Colors. Post. I gotta present arms.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. I gotta read. Cover. Forward. Arms. Detail. Halt.
Pastor Amanda Mosing is going to offer a prayer.
Let us pray. Most gracious and loving Lord, we come together this day. And Lord, as we are here, we celebrate the life and service of President George H.W. Bush. Lord, we thank you for his life of service, honor, and loyalty. Lord, as he has reached his final heavenly home, we pray that his legacy would continue to live on in our country and in our hearts, serving as an example to us this day forward. Lord, we also recognize the loss of Rose Vesper and lift up her family in our prayers. Lord, as we gather, may we continue to be faithful to you, faithful to the residents of Clermont County, honoring you in all we do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You may be seated.
Mr. Painter will now give a memorial service.
What a fitting ceremony that it is. George Herbert Walker Bush, the 41st President of the United States, was a man who believed and lived the principles of honor, duty, courage, and service. He loved and cherished his family. He loved and cherished the people of the United States of America. We'd like to take a few minutes today to reflect on the legacy of President Bush. President Bush passed away on Friday, November 30th, at the age of 94. He is mourned by our country, mourned by our county, and mourned by the citizens of Clermont County. Our flags are at half-staff, and they will be for the next 30 days after his passing. Although George Bush was born into a life of privilege, I know many of you heard that on the radio, on the television and radio. His father was a Wall Street banker who was elected senator from Connecticut. The son chose a different path. On his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the United States Navy and completed flight training before he was 19 years old, making him the youngest aviator in Navy history at that time. And at that time, that was a tough time. On September 2nd, 1944, Ensign Bush's plane was attacked by the Japanese, and he parachuted to safety. He was later picked up by a United States submarine. George Bush flew 58 combat missions and was highly decorated. Instead of staying in New England, Mr. Bush and his wife Barbara and their young children set out for West Texas, where he became a successful oil man. That eventually led to his election in 2 terms in Congress representing Houston. That was the beginning of Mr. Bush's political career. Mr. Bush became ambassador to the United Nations, chairman of the National Republican Committee, chief liaison to China, director of the Central Intelligence Agency, and in 1979, he became Ronald Reagan's running mate. He served 2 terms as vice president, and he became president of the United States in 1989. As president, Mr. Bush assembled allies to wage a successful and brief Persian Gulf War to drive Iraq from Kuwait. The Berlin Wall fell on his watch, and he negotiated an end to the Cold War with 2 famous people, Mikhail Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin. President Bush believed in the power of civic engagement and volunteerism. If you remember in his acceptance speech at the Republican Convention in 1988, he called these volunteers points of light. He said, "This is America, a brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky." This legacy lives on in the Points of Lights organization, which his partnerships with thousands of nonprofits and companies dedicated to volunteer service around the world. President Bush was married to Barbara Bush for 73 years. They were devoted to each other, and before his death, he spoke of his belief that he would be reunited with his beloved wife and their daughter Robin, who died at the age of 3 from leukemia. In 2011, President Bush told us all, "There could be no definition of a successful life that does not include service to others. Find something to do, get off the bench, don't sit there whining and sucking your thumb, get in the game." President Bush spent his whole life in the game. Clermont County sends our sincere condolences to the family of President Bush. We thank this kind, gracious, and brave man for his service to our country as we mourn the passing of the 41st President of the United States. Godspeed, President Bush. If you please retire the colors.
I got forward, march. I got pull. Cover colors, march. I got present, arms. Order, arms. Ready, up. Read, cover. Forward, march. Ready, halt.
Pastor Mosing, if you close us with benediction. Thank you.
Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, yet they shall live. Friends, go forth in peace this day, in the love and peace of Jesus Christ.
That concludes our service for George Bush, 41st President of the United States. Thank you.
And we will start our meeting. Call the meeting to order, and we have the first item is approval of the minutes of November the 28th. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Ubel, Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. We have a consent agenda that was mailed to us on Friday.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Yes.
we have some employee introductions.
Okay. Thank you.
Judy Ashman, you want to start?
Come on around. Good morning.
Morning.
Judy Eschman, Department of Job and Family Services. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce 4 new members to our team. First is Debbie Hatfield. Debbie is our new contract manager. She comes to us with 30 years of public service experience. She worked for Franklin County Job and Family Services in their contracting department for 25 years. We're very excited to have her, and she'll be a great addition to our team. Next is Amanda Saylor. Amanda is an investigator in our child welfare department. She has a master's degree in criminal justice. She also served in the Air Force, and she has 5 years' experience in children's services, both in Brown and Hamilton County. So we're really happy to have Amanda as well. Next is, I got it mixed up, Keisha Alston. Keisha has recently relocated to Cincinnati. She has lived the last 18 or so years in Houston, Texas. She's worked for 2 state departments in Texas. One is child support, and the other is equivalent to our public assistance department. And we've hired her to do eligibility in our public assistance departments. We're very happy to have her. And last but not least is James Lane. James has been hired to work for Family and Children First. He's a wraparound facilitator. He was born in Germany in a military family. He's traveled everywhere as a military child. He joined the Army and has retired from the Army as well. And he'll be doing wraparound work with families with children that are in multiple systems. So those are our 4 new employees, and we're very happy to have them.
Welcome.
Welcome to Clermont County.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lyle?
There's the minutes, Dave. Right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm Lyle Bloom, Director with the Clermont County Water Resource Department. And first, I'd like to introduce Casey Witten. Casey is a maintenance tech in our operations or our maintenance division, working in the distribution group. Casey's local. He went to C&E High School and Live Oaks Vocational School. Most recently worked for an excavation company and also did some internship with the Ohio Department of Transportation. Casey has a Class B CDL and also some heavy equipment operating experience. So we're glad to have him on board. And next we have Ted Dickman. Ted attended Ivy Tech Community College and has an associate's degree in industrial technology. Most recently, he was a maintenance technician for a property management group, managing a lot of apartment buildings, doing the maintenance on those. So we're happy to have Ted with us as well. Ted's also in the maintenance tech in the distribution group of our maintenance division. Is it Ted or Tony?
My actual name's Tony, but I go by Ted.
All right. Thanks for the clarification.
I wasn't calling him the wrong name the whole time.
Good for you.
This is our paper
Yeah.
says.
Welcome.
I'm like,
Welcome.
Start to the T.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We'll come to the center. if you would.
Right. 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Be careful out there,
Sir?
Any flag.
Now the consent agenda was mailed to us on Friday. And are there any items that we need to pull from the consent agenda? Or may I have a motion for further consideration and deliberation? Or can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as prepared?
Tom, you had a couple of things, but that was not in the consent agenda. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as shown.
Is there a
Second.
Judith?
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphries?
Aye. Non-consent agenda begins on page 7 with item 14. First is a resolution to pay our bills, Resolution 191-18, in the amount of $1,764,514.21. Is there a motion to approve item 14?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? Judith?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 15.
Item 15 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 192-18, resolving to amend resolution number 61-18, which determined to make improvements relative to the construction, operation, and maintenance of the Locust Lake Lift Station and Conveyance Improvements Project located in Batavia Township, Pierce Township, and the Village of Amelia. This was previously adopted by the board on May 16th, 2018, and further determining to make the aforestated improvements as set forth in the attachments and to proceed therewith in accordance with a revised detailed plan, specifications, and estimates of cost and financing, all of which shall be paid from one or more of any combination of the wastewater replacement and improvements fund, wastewater capital improvement fund, any portion of any federal or state grant or loan should such become available, and or by the issuance of notes or bonds issued or pursuant to section 133.08 of the Ohio Revised Code, and payable from revenues derived from sewer rates and charges levied for the operation of the Clermont County wastewater system, and subsequent thereto to approve the request to re-advertise for bids pursuant to the revised specifications and plans, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 13th, 2018, schedule a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on Monday, January 14th, 2019 at 10 a.m., with bids to be received until 2:00 p.m. local time on Thursday, January 24th, 2019, here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners. Well, they will be publicly open and read aloud shortly thereafter, and this legal notice will also be posted on the county's website. So this project was bid earlier in the year. We did not receive any bids on it. We had some restrictions on their work times due to them working right in front of two elementary schools in the route, that being St. Bernadette Elementary and Amelia Elementary. So our plan is to get a bid out through the winter, get it awarded, and allow them to work through the summer, and that will help avoid some of the work restrictions. The revised engineer's estimate for construction is $1,297,786.88. Typically don't get down to the penny on that, but the engineer did in this case. And this involves we're installing a new force main for the lift station, also installing an emergency generator at the lift station. The force main will be installed by directional drilling as well, so it'll help avoid some of the pavement disruption and traffic disruption, because most of the project's in the pavement.
We have a motion to adopt Resolution 192-18.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Judith?
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 16.
Item 16 is a recommendation to approve the request to advertise for bids. This is relative to the Taylor Avenue Water Petition Project located in Stone Lake Township pursuant to the plans and specifications, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 13th, 2018. Schedule a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on Thursday, January 10th, 2019 at 2 o'clock p.m. with bids to be received until 2 p.m. local time on Thursday, January 17th, 2019, here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, where they will be publicly open and read aloud shortly thereafter, and this legal notice will also be posted on the county's website. The engineer's estimate on this project is $62,200. It involves about 611 feet of 6-inch water main, new water main to benefit 8 property owners that are on Taylor Avenue. And this was the project we had a public hearing on. The property owners were petitioning for this. So the majority of the costs of this project will be funded by special assessment of the benefited properties.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the request to advertise for bids as contained in item 16?
So moved.
Second motion.
Discussion? Roll call, Judith.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 17.
Item 17 is a recommendation to authorize Edmund H. Humphrey, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute change order number 1 to the contract with Rowden Myers Incorporated out of Milford, Ohio, which was previously ratified by the board on May 16, 2018, and this is relative to the Water System Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, or called SCADA, upgrade project for the Clermont County Water Resources Department. And this represents an increase in the amount of $12,665 for a total adjusted contract price to date of $676,097, as well as a non-compensable extension of time of 93 calendar days for the completion thereof for a revised contract completion date of May 2nd, 2019. And this is for additions, deletions, or modifications to the contract. And this is also contingent upon the release of the required purchase order. So the majority, the costs associated with it are associated with tracing the non-terminated wires at the PUB water treatment plant. There was a lot of wiring. They didn't know where they went, so they're tracing those out. So there's a lot of extra time and effort involved in that. And then the time extension, we've had some delays getting the internet service to the PUB and the BMW water treatment plant, working with the internet provider. So that's the reason for the time extension.
Okay. We have a motion to execute the change order number 1 as contained in item 17.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Now on the non-compensable extension of time, typically non-compensable is either they've agreed or the schedule delay wasn't their fault. Is that pretty much what the case is here?
Correct. It was not their fault. It's been delays by the internet providers to get that installed. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 18.
Item 18 is a recommendation to execute an extension to the contract for professional services between the Board of County Commissioners and Fishbeck, Thompson, Carr, and Huber Incorporated out of Cincinnati, Ohio. This was previously ratified by the board on November 9th, 2016. And this is relative to the county wastewater model maintenance project to extend the contract for an additional 1-year period through November 8th, 2019, pursuant to Article 3 and 4 of the contract, and represents an additional amount not to exceed $25,000 for a total revised contract amount not to exceed $100,000, with said services to be provided as needed upon the request of the Clermont County Water Resources Department, with all the terms and conditions of the original contract to remain in full force and effect, and it's also contingent upon the release of the purchase order. So currently, to date, this is a 2-year contract that we had with an option to extend it 1 year. The original contract amount was $75,000. We've spent to date of just under $13,600. So we have not spent a whole lot. It's an as-needed contract for our wastewater model. If there's a new development that's going on, we want to see how our system will react. They can run different model scenarios and do what-if scenarios with the wastewater model. And then this will just extend it an additional year. I don't anticipate that we'll use the full $100,000.
Okay, do we have a motion to execute an extension of contract for professional services as contained in item 18?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? Judith, roll call?
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Ubel,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 19.
Item 19 is a recommendation to execute a software maintenance and product support program agreement. This will be between the county and Harris Computer Systems for the ongoing maintenance and product support for the enhanced utility billing system. This is for a 4-year period. It'll be effective February 1st of 2019 through January 31st of 2023 at a cost not to exceed $179,055 as set forth in the attachment. This is our annual and ongoing maintenance that we have for our utility billing.
Okay, do we have a motion to execute the software maintenance and product support agreements as contained in item 19?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Suki, that's just for maintenance, I guess, $180,000. I
For
mean,
the 4-year period?
that's probably typical. We've always paid something like that, but
Right.
how often do we call them and how often do we get updates? And it just-
We get updates a couple of times a year, sometimes smaller ones, and then occasionally we'll get a larger update that changes some things dramatically. Technical services are there all the time. So there are issues that the girls are calling Harris for support on an ongoing basis.
Are there alternatives that we should consider?
Another utility billing system would, there's no other alternative support for this,
Nope.
okay? Typically, you go back to the provider of the software. So we implemented this utility billing system in 2008,
Okay.
after we had had the previous one since 1994. So, you know,
This is actually interfacing with our system and actually creating.
this what this interfaces with is our work order system. So the guys with the tablets out in the field have the interface here. The work orders are created on the customer's accounts and sent out there. There is no direct interface between this and our general ledger, but this is our receivable system for the Water Resources Department.
Okay.
So, you know, the other option is to look at a different utility provider. The software is working fine.
It would be something to do at the end of this contract. I'm not trying to do
Well,
anything now. So we got a 4-year contract, so.
just to maintain it, right?
Yep.
Did we originally buy the software or is this kind of a lease own?
No, we bought it.
Bought it?
We bought it. Every time you have software, you have an ongoing maintenance that's associated with it,
Okay.
and upgrades.
I used to sell me.
which gives you the upgrades, right? Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Judith, roll call?
Mr. Ubel,
Yes.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 20.
Good morning, how are you today?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you all as usual.
Good to see you, John.
It's the recommendation of myself, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eagle, County Administrator, to award the bid for the purchase and delivery of 2 heavy-duty transit buses for Clermont Transportation Connection, pursuant to the specifications therefore to Gillig of Livermore, California, for the sole bid received on August 9th and subsequently extended to October 3rd for a total amount not to exceed $866,694, and to execute the contract for services relative thereto, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, and the award of the bid therefore. And to further to acknowledge and waive the clerical errors and or omissions followed in the review of the bid document, specifically the certificate of liability insurance and the bid bond submitted therewith, and contingent upon the release of a purchase order.
Okay, do we have a motion to award the bid and purchase and delivery of 2 heavy-duty transit buses as contained in item 20?
So moved.
Second motion.
Discussion?
These are Big buses.
These are 40-foot transit buses, heavy duty,
Really big buses.
really big buses.
John, these funds are federal grants, or where do we get the funds for this?
So 80% of them are federal funds, and then 20% of them come from the CTC rollover fund. So that's going to be about $180,000 from the rollover fund out of a current available amount of about $650,000.
And the money in the rollover fund comes from proceeds from?
Comes from revenues and the local match funds that we get from SORTA when they use our 5307 monies. So.
Any further discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Ubel,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 21.
John, they don't have Wi-Fi on those buses yet, do they? Or-
Not yet, but we're going to have USB ports.
Interesting. Good.
Item number 21 is a recommendation of Pat Munger, County Engineer, concurrence of Tom Igoe, County Administrator, to accept the warranty deed for parcel identification number 41-31-05D-186, situated in Union Township, Clermont County, which is more fully described in Exhibit A, containing 2 pages attached thereto and made part thereof, previously granted and conveyed to the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District for roadway purposes necessary for project number CLE 275-10.15, relative to the I-275 and Eastgate Boulevard Improvement Project located within Union Township, and further to acknowledge any and all compensation therefore has been satisfied by the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the warranty deed as contained in item 21?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Ubel,
Yes.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 22.
Commissioners, I ask that we table item 22. We have some minor issues with the RFP. We also want to look through the scope of services again, so we have some questions and some issues that we have to work out.
Okay, do we have a motion to table? Is that appropriate, Judith, or do we just table? Do we have a motion to table item 22?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Motion.
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Ubel,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 23.
23 is a recommendation by the Board of Elections to adopt resolution number 19318, resolving to find that the equipment listed on Exhibit A is no longer necessary for use by Clermont County and may be discarded or salvaged pursuant to and in compliance with Section 30712 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt resolution number 193-18 as contained in item 23?
I'll make a motion for item 23.
Second.
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Ubel, Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 24.
Commissioners, again, I ask that this be considered to be tabled for a later date. We have a couple issues to work out, including an annual not-to-exceed amount, which is typical for our contracts with legal firms, as well as some questions that we have to have answered regarding incurred expenses to date.
Okay, do we have a motion to table item 24?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Ubel,
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye. Item 25.
Good morning. Mary Raines from the Office of Management and Budget. Item number 25 is the resolution number 194-18 to adopt the annual appropriations. As you'll recall, 2 weeks ago, we gave a presentation and went over all the details of general fund balancing and operating versus non-operating, and then the total of all funds. We've not heard any feedback to make any changes at this point, so the appropriations are as they were presented 2 weeks ago. Okay, so the motion that you have in your agenda is slightly different than what I'm going to go over here. The The recommendation is to adopt the annual appropriations for 2019 in accordance with 570538 of the revised code, to establish the legal level of control for the 2019 appropriations in accordance with Ohio Administrative Code 117.5-02, which is the same as we've done in the past. What we've done this year is in this resolution, we've also added to waive the limitation of the payroll expenditures during the first half of the fiscal year, where personnel costs are charged to multiple funding sources or will be changed during the second half of the year based on funding schedules and staffing allocations. And that's in accordance with 570546. So during the first half of the year, you can't exceed 60% of your personnel budget, except if you make exceptions. We have people who are charged to grants, and the grant funding changes mid-year. So in those cases, the appropriation may exceed 60%, but that's because the second half of the year, their allocation goes someplace else. So instead of doing another motion separately in June to do this, I spoke with the prosecutor's office, and they saw no problem with putting it into the annual appropriation. Now, if something would come up and there'd be some reason that there was something other than the allocation of staff, then we'd have to come back before you.
So do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 194-18 as contained in item 25?
I will make that motion, but not as contained in item 25. I will make that motion based on the modified motion for the non-consent agenda that she just read.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And is there a second?
I'll second the motion. Then why didn't, Mary, why didn't we have this corrected and make the motion the
I've
way?
been on vacation.
Is that okay? I was just
And
going
I'm
to blame
back
Tom,
this
but that's all
morning.
right.
Things happen.
Things
is what
happen.
I look
put
at
it in
it.
your new agenda manager thing, and because I wasn't here to remind Judy that we made a change, she just pulled last year's and did that. So it got published before, and that's when I noticed it. So I sent an email saying, wait a second, there's been a change.
Well, we appreciate the modification. Any discussion?
Judy, you have the revised language?
I do.
Okay. Any discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 26.
Item 26 is a recommendation to designate Commissioner Humphrey to represent Clermont County on the Ohio Indiana Regional Council of Governments Executive Committee for calendar year 2019, and to authorize reimbursement of expenses not to exceed $50 per meeting.
Do we have a motion to adopt item 26?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Abstain?
Actually, Mary, I stand corrections. I corrected. We did get the updated add-on, so that's what one of the add-ons was. So Judy or Connie, thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
Item 27.
Item 27 is a recommendation to designate Commissioner Painter to serve as the alternate for Commissioner Humphrey on the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments Executive Committee for calendar year 2019, and to authorize reimbursement of expenses not to exceed $50 per meeting.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt item 27?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Judith?
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Abstain.
Item 28.
28 is a recommendation to appoint Marshall McCaffrin to serve on the Clermont County Law Library Resources Board for his first full 5-year term, effective 1/1/19 through 12/31/2023.
Okay, do we have a motion to appoint Marshall McCracken to serve on the Clermont County Law Library Resource Board as contained in item 28?
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion?
Is Marshall an attorney? I thought he was more of a private investigator. What does Marshall do?
He's an attorney.
Is he?
He was with the prosecutor's office until he retired, and then we appointed him to fill the unexpired term of Jesse Kramick.
Okay, I'm thinking of somebody else, but, okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, Judith?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Item 29.
Ms. Casika, could you read item 29 as it includes me as an authority to sign?
Sure. This is the recommendation of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to authorize Mary Raines or Suki Sheets for and on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, Clermont County, Ohio, or, in their absence, Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, the authority to execute all documentation relative to requests for all license plates, titles, and/or title transfers for county-owned vehicles. And this is a repeat with just a modification from what we have done in the past in order to expedite those particular items administratively.
Okay, do we have a motion to authorize the execution of all documents as contained in item 29?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 30.
Yvonne Smith, Benefits Coordinator for Clermont County. It is my recommendation, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to first accept the proposal of option 1 for the group excess loss insurance, and that's also known as stop loss, submitted by Symetra Life Insurance Company of Indianapolis, Indiana, dated 11/15/2018, as presented to the Board of County Commissioners by Haran Associates on 11/7 for the provision of stop-loss insurance protection for Clermont County's medical plan for calendar year 2019. To authorize Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to execute the proposal, and to authorize myself, Yvonne Smith, to obtain the necessary documents to enter into a contract with Symetra Life Insurance Company, therefore, for calendar year 2019, for submittal to the Board of County Commissioners for ratification thereof.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt item 30?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 31.
Item 31 is the request to authorize changes to the annual appropriations for 2018. The first one is $3,400 for the Treasurer's DTAC Fund fringes because of a change in fringe benefits for an employee. The second is $1,020 for fringes in the Common Pleas Court Special Projects fringe benefits, again, for changes in insurance. And then $100,000 for other expenses in water distribution in the Water Revenue Fund for outside maintenance contracts.
We have a motion to approve the supplemental appropriations as contained in item 30.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. And do we have any add-ons?
You do?
We have two add-ons.
Okay.
Lyle. The grant and sewer review.
We've got it there too. This is a recommendation to accept the following grant of sewer easement with right of reentry for repair and replacement, which is granted and conveyed to the Board of County Commissioners, Clermont County, Ohio, for utility purposes of constructing, operating, maintaining, repairing, replacing, removing, or reinstalling sewer utility lines, pumping equipment, and all manholes and all incidental fixtures required for the transportation of sewage in, on, under, and across the property of the grantor, as well as to provide ingress and egress access to the easement. And this is for parcel number 18-25 18-13B-046 and 18-25-13B-250 located in Miami Township. And the grantor is Imbus Enterprises LP. This is for property along Montclair Boulevard, or located at 856 State Route 28 and State Route 28. This is the easement donated by a developer that they need in order to transfer the property in order to make a property sale.
Do we have a motion to accept the following grant of sewer easement with right-of-way reentry and repair and replacement is contained in the add-on?
So moved.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? Judith, roll call.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second add-on is an acknowledgement of the filing of the petition for annexation.
The recommendation is to acknowledge the filing of the petition for annexation of 2.9109 acres of real estate identified as all of parcel identification number 012006B001 from the unincorporated area of Batavia Township, Clermont County, Ohio, to the Village of Batavia, Clermont County, Ohio, filed in our offices, excuse me, on Monday, December 3rd, 2018, at about 2:12 p.m. by Michael Manier, attorney at law, for and on behalf of John Q. Theobald, the mayor and the designated agent for the petitioner Auto Temp Incorporated by Frank Lauch, CEO, pursuant to and in compliance with Section 709.023 of the Ohio Revised Code. As you may recall, this particular section, and I think this may be your first this year, of an expedited petition, part of, or the majority of Auto Temp's property lies within the village, and this other portion is to place it all under one governmental entity.
We have a motion to acknowledge the filing of the petition for annexation of 2.9109 acres of real property is contained in the add-on.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Only discussion, this was also a point of discussion last night at Batavia Township meeting. With no it was discussed last night at Batavia Township. They didn't have any contrary comments.
Okay. Roll call, Judith?
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Any other add-ons?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a need for executive session. Can I turn the page here? Executive session pursuant to 121.22 G1 and G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to consider the appointment, employment, promotion, compensation of one or more public employees and to confer with the prosecuting attorney regarding pending or imminent litigation respectively. Do we have a motion to go into executive session under those two sections of the code?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Judith?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. We'll be back. Okay, we're back from executive session. No decisions were made. We now come to the part of public participation. Do we have any person that wants to address us? Yes, sir. During this time, the board does not answer questions or engage in debate. No member of the public may comment about matters that are not within the purview of the county commissioner's responsibility. Commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought by the board at this time. Each speaker shall only speak once and shall be recognized by the board, the president. You may proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner Humphrey. I'm Chris Hicks from 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio. Today I want to do a rare thing. I want to compliment you guys on a few things.
Cool.
And I actually heard a smirk out of, so I want to compliment you on a few things. One is...
Cool.
Huh?
You heard cool. Me said cool.
In the last few weeks, I made a list while I was sitting here, in the last few weeks, some things I think are positive. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human. And the thing that happened with the hire into an improper classified position, I want to compliment you guys on the fast response time to it. And hopefully it doesn't happen again, or the right policies and processes are put in place around it. I also want to compliment you. I was looking at some meeting minutes, and there's been over time, I think, a dramatic improvement in the quality of the meeting minutes. I don't know if it's because of now not doing it so fast, but I just want to compliment you on that. They're a much more accurate read of what all happened during a meeting, so I want to compliment you on that. I want to some of the matter with the legal fees that got tabled today. I want to compliment you on not moving too hastily on something when there's maybe facts to be determined. And I think it's important to also know that, you know, we have I had the opportunity to take a tour of the jail with the sheriff and been asking some questions. I know public defenders are typically getting $40 to $60 an hour in there, so we want to probably be thinking about when we're spending county money on people's legal defenses, what do we do when the general public, who maybe aren't taxpayers when they're using the public defender, but citizens are when they're getting defense. And then I'm assuming, unless something comes out at the end of this, that after I sit back down, that the FCC cooperative agreement change that was approved in Milford last night is not getting, I was afraid that was going to get, so hopefully that gets proper consideration and proper vetting before any hasty decisions are made. So I just want to, those are some things I want to compliment you guys on and say thank you. I also appreciated quite a bit the ceremony this morning with the honor guard. The only honor guard I know that might be better than the Clermont County Sheriff's honor guard is the Union Township honor guard. But you know, and I when I was a kid, I had a picture of George H.W. Bush on the wall, and I graduated from high school in 1984, so to give you a little idea of timing. And I had a picture of Reagan on the wall. And one of the things that struck me while I was sitting here is that my son, who's 18, wouldn't know who George Herbert Walker Bush is today if it weren't for Ronald Reagan. So think about that. Ronald Reagan was the outsider, okay? George Herbert Walker Bush was the insider. And somehow between the two of them and what happened in that period of the 80s and the term after Reagan's second term, some good things happened where those sides came together. Those two different viewpoints came together. I was always a big Ronald Reagan guy when I was a kid. And so 80 to 84, I was still a kid at that point in time, but had a lot of respect about George Herbert Walker Bush, and I appreciated the event. I appreciated that he was a man. I think both Reagan and him were very different people, but they both were guys that had the best interest of the country at heart. And you know, so I appreciated that ceremony, and thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to comment here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there being no further business, are there any add-ons? There being no further business to come before the board, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second the motion.
Judith?
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Ubel, Mr. Humphrey.
Aye. That concludes our business for today. Thanks for joining us, and God bless.